Hello and welcome to the finale of the Summer Box Office 2019 series. I'm your host Tyler Callahan, and boy oh boy, have I had a rough season. If you've been following along, you know what this video is, where I go over my predictions and see how they held up. And a spoiler warning, they have not held up well. I'll flash my rating system up here real quick so you can have an understanding of how I'm going to grade it. Overall, this summer was very top heavy and very bottom heavy. Not a lot of middle ground for movies. But since there's a lot of movies to go through, let's just start off with Avengers Endgame. It's the first one. Here I predicted $700 million domestic and $2.4 billion worldwide. It blew past those expectations. Instead, it came in at $854 million domestic and $2.8 billion worldwide, becoming the number one highest grossing movie worldwide of all time. So my reasoning for the domestic number was that it would do better than Infinity War. However, due to some heavy competition, it would have shorter summer legs. I was wrong in that case, as it turns out the competition was not that strong, so it just allowed Endgame to soak up more money. Moving to the worldwide numbers, I had the same logic, so it would be big enough to be number 2 worldwide, but not overtake Avatar. Again, I was wrong. The hype for the movie internationally was underestimated, and while it took a few months, it did beat Avatar. So for a grade, this is easily an F, both domestically and worldwide. Next movie is the small comedy Long Shot. For this, I predicted $50 million domestic and $70 million worldwide. The end result was $30 million domestic and $44 million worldwide, which is very good for me. I came to these predictions based on the director's previous movies and saw that while they did okay domestically, they were never big internationally. And that happened again here. So my grade for both is an A. Now we have one of my many big misfires I had this summer with Detective Pikachu. I predicted it was going to be one of the bigger movies of the summer with $235 million domestic and $850 million worldwide. Yeah, about half of that. While not a flop, Detective Pikachu came in at $144 million domestic and $431 million worldwide. Easily F's all around. So what happened here? Simply that I overpredicted how much the Pokemon brand can translate into other mediums, such as films. I think maybe if it was a full-blown animated movie, it may have done more. It could have been for the general audience that Ryan Reynolds voicing Pikachu was too confusing. However, for the movie itself, it is actually now the second highest grossing video game movie behind Warcraft, so if you look at it like that, it's not too bad. Next is John Wick 3 Parabellum, which did a lot better than expected. The movie came in at $171 million domestic and $321 million worldwide, a huge difference to my prediction of $110 million domestic and $200 million worldwide. This shows the goodwill the John Wick franchise has built up to this point, thanks to the movies also being real good. While my predictions would have given the third movie a domestic and worldwide best for the franchise, it blew right past them. What this shows is that if the fourth John Wick gets just as good reviews, expect it to do huge numbers. I'm happy this movie did real well, but in doing so, I gained 2 more Fs. I guess I should put more trust in the movie. Now we move on to one of my other big misses, and that is the live action adaptation of Aladdin. A lot of people were expecting this to flop, however, I was the idea that it would be successful, just not huge like Beauty and the Beast. With a prediction of $210 million domestic and $650 million worldwide, well, turns out everyone was wrong. Not only did Aladdin crush my estimates, it became an unexpected huge hit of the summer, making $355 million domestic and $1.046 billion worldwide. This makes it Disney's second billion-dollar movie of the year behind Avengers, and is actually Will Smith's first billion-dollar movie ever. What happened here was the critics and the audiences did not see eye to eye, while reviewers were mixed to positive. The audience really enjoyed it, and it had great legs lasting into July. The original Aladdin is a classic, and here the public seems to think the adaptation was a good remake, and personally, I thought Will Smith killed it here. So great job, Disney. Followed up 2 more Fs for me. We got a small horror movie up now with Brightburn, but it did anything but bright up the box office. Usually horror movies do real well, so I thought a horror movie about a kid with superhero powers being evil would do some decent business, with $45 million domestic and $70 million worldwide. That turned out not to be the case, with $17 million domestic and $32 million worldwide. The reviews were also not that great for it, but I ignored it because, let's be honest, unless a horror movie is complete trash, it will still make a bit of money. But this movie could have done less just because of the weaker summer season, with a lot of movies underperforming. Anyway, this gets me a B domestically and a C worldwide. What we got now was supposed to be one of the big blockbusters of the year with Godzilla King of Monsters. It was anything but. I was thinking that by adding a bunch of action, thanks to utilizing the rest of Godzilla's characters, it would give it a decent boost and make around 220 million domestic and 730 million worldwide. Well, their mixed reviews came out and Godzilla tripped and fell at opening weekend and never recovered. This totaled to 110 million domestic and 385 million worldwide. So just what the fuck happened? I think it is a mix of people being burnt out by the first Godzilla, but I would have thought the action-packed trailers would have told people otherwise. It could also be that the interest for monster movies is over time just decreasing. This does make me think, how would Godzilla vs. Kong do next year? On paper, it should be close to $1 billion movie, but now, probably 600 million worldwide range. But predicting that movie is for another time. Give me another 2S, please. Now we are in the last movie for May with Rocketman, and man, I really want to know what I was thinking when I predicted this movie. I think I expected it to blow up like Bohemian Rhapsody, but not as much, with 160 million domestic and 600 million worldwide. The reasoning behind this was that it should have been a better movie than Bohemian, and Elton John is one of the biggest musicians, so it is someone people know and care about. While I was right, it was better reviewed. That did not translate to big numbers, with it coming in at 96 million domestic and 193 million worldwide. Again, F's all around. Continuing on the trend from May, we got The Secret Life of Pets 2. Now, the first one was crazy big, and while I did not think this would reach those heights, I expected it to still do well. I had a prediction of 235 million domestic and 720 million worldwide, and it did not come close to that. Compared to the first, the sequel dropped like a rock, only making 158 million domestic and 427 million worldwide. So it looks like, besides the overall trend this summer, the first one really was lightning in the bottle, and Illumination was unable to replicate it. Now, this does not mean it was a flop. In fact, because of Illumination's usual low budget, this still turned a profit, just not one as big as Universal would have hoped. Overall, this means another 2Fs from me, and we still got a few more dumpster fires before we get to the good results. Now we got the last X-Men movie under Fox, assuming the New Mutants does not come out, with Dark Phoenix. This is a movie that was destined to fail, and it did. Well past anyone's expectations. I predicted it to do worse than Apocalypse by a considerable amount, only making 140 million domestic and 500 million worldwide, and it did considerably worse, coming in at just 65 million domestic and 252 million worldwide. So obviously, this movie was a train wreck coming. I think everyone did not know how much of one it would be. I will say, even though I am taking another 2Fs on this, it was fun to watch this movie implode at the box office. I will say that was a good weekend. Did I hear you right? What? You wanted another disappointing sequel? Well, I got you with Men in Black International. This was another sequel that I thought would underperform, and it did. A lot more than I thought it would. Again, I had it coming in at 120 million domestic and 400 million worldwide, which would have already put it at a franchise low all around. Well, it outdid itself with 79 million domestic and 253 million worldwide. This seems to have been killed by people not interested in it, and understandably so when you replace the old cast, and you also get terrible reviews. I'm pissed off about this movie though, because I was so close to getting a D domestically. I was off by $175,000, but didn't work out, so 2 more Fs. Got another Disney movie here, which means another billion with Toy Story 4. I expected Toy Story 4 to do big numbers, and for the most part it did. I was thinking for the new finale of the franchise, it would make 490 million domestic and 1.1 billion worldwide. I was close, with it making 432 million domestic and 1.057 billion worldwide. This makes it the highest grossing Toy Story domestically, and the second highest worldwide, just behind Toy Story 3 by $9 million. My only error here was, I guess I expected too much from it. But my thinking was that if The Incredibles 2 can do over 600 million domestic, Toy Story 4 can do just under 500 million. I guess not. So that's an F for me domestically, but a C worldwide. Next up is a horror movie with Chucky with Child's Play. I expected this to do decent with 50 million domestic and 100 million worldwide. I did good domestically, worldwide not so much. The movie came in at 29 million domestic and 42 million worldwide. This gives me a B domestically and an F worldwide. I think the failing for me here was that I did not do enough research and see that it was not going to be released in a lot of countries internationally, which obviously hurts the chance of getting $100 million. We go back to the horror movies now with Annabelle Comes Home. I expected this to do an average amount based on the Conjuring universe so far, and this meant a prediction of 110 million domestic and 240 million worldwide. It came in a bit under at 73 million domestic and 224 million worldwide, so a decent drop domestically compared to other movies, but it seemed to pick up the slack in other countries. This does make it the lowest grossing movie in the Conjuring universe, both domestic and worldwide. For a rating, I get a D domestically and an A worldwide. The last movie I had for June was Shaft, and for this, I just did not do enough research. That's on me. For Shaft, I had 75 million domestic and 120 million worldwide. The issue here, though, is if I did enough digging and research, I would have learned that Shaft was only being released in theaters in America, and Warner Brothers sold the rights to the movie and to Netflix internationally, which meant no box office money. Well, it still flopped in America, so good move on Warner Brothers. It came in at 21.3 million, so I guess domestically and worldwide. So F's all around. Moving into July, we started off with another superhero movie with Spider-Man Far From Home. I expected it to do big things, and boy did Spidey deliver. I predicted 380 million domestic and a 1.08 billion worldwide total, and it passed both. Far From Home came in at 389 million domestic and 1.128 billion worldwide. I expected thanks to Avengers Endgame, this would become at least the highest grossing Spider-Man movie worldwide, and it did so no problem. Now, how will the next one do depends on the Disney and Sony negotiations, but at least for now, the movie is a massive hit for Sony. So for Far From Home, I get an A domestically and a C worldwide. Do you know what Fox should be associated with this year? Bombs. Because that's all they can apparently drop this year. For July, they had Stuber, and it did not do good at all. I had it doing decent to good comedy numbers with 70 million domestic and 160 million worldwide. I knew the worldwide number would be a little big, but I thought I could at least get close to its domestic number. Yeah, no. Stuber came in at 22 million domestic and 32 million worldwide, giving me 2 more Fs. I will say, while it did not do good, the poor reviews it got was probably the final nail in the coffin. So, for this year, Fox is associated with bombs. Disney should be associated with $1 billion. Now we go to another failure, only because it made so much cash, and that is the Lion King remake. I had it doing real well with 440 million domestic and 1.48 billion. And well, like a lion, I ate those like it was nothing. The Lion King came in at 537 million domestic and 1.629 billion worldwide. Disney absolutely dominated the summer, delivering $4 billion movies, if you count Avengers. Something no studio has ever done before. I think it goes without saying, that's 2 more Fs for me. And the last movie for July was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Compared to other Quentin Tarantino movies, I expected this to do well, and for the most part it did. I thought it was going to do 145 million domestic and 420 million worldwide, and it came in at 138 million domestic and 344 million worldwide. What hurt me a bit worldwide was the long release period it had. If I keep this open until October or November, I could get a better rating for this movie, but that's not fair. Gotta make most of the money in the summer. But this was a hit considering the almost 3-hour movie with little plot. It got a great reception. And in the wake of only big blockbusters making a profit, a smaller original movie doing good, it's good for Hollywood. If we ignore it was made by one of the bigger directors and had a star-studded cast. So I get an A domestic and an F worldwide. We are now in the last month, August, and we start off with Hobbs and Shaw, the first Fast and Furious spin-off movie. I expected this to be big, especially with the actors involved, with 210 million domestic and 800 million worldwide, and it did decent, but not great. Hobbs and Shaw came in at 170 million domestic and 750 million worldwide. So it is a hit for Universal, it just did not reach my expectations. I think between this and Fast 8 that the brand is losing popularity in America, but it still does have some international power. So Hobbs and Shaw gets me a D domestically and a C worldwide. Next is Dora and the Lost City of Gold. Now at first, I had no idea how this movie was going to perform, but I was actually real good with my prediction here. I thought it would do 60 million domestic and 140 million worldwide. Dora had some brand power, but not much, and it came in at 58 million domestic and $98 million worldwide. Again, real close with my domestic prediction, so Dora gets me an A domestically and a C worldwide. Now, we got a real stinker here from Warner Brothers, who, like Fox, has not been having a good summer, and The Kitchen did not help. I knew this would not do great numbers, but I did not expect this. I was thinking 45 million domestic and 90 million worldwide, and it came in at a pathetic 12 million domestic and 15 million worldwide. Warner Brothers took a hard L on this movie, and it's just bad. Make it worse, the movie got bad reviews, so people who are curious about the movie sees the numbers in the reviews and just noped out of it. Really, if it was possible, Warner Brothers should have sold this to Netflix for like 30 to 40 million and take the hit. I mean, Shaft did better domestically than this movie did worldwide. So, goes without saying here, F's all around. We got our last animated movie of the summer with The Angry Birds 2, and it also underperformed heavily. I knew it would do less than the first one, so I went in with 90 million domestic and 240 million worldwide. And it could not even do that. It came in with 40 million domestic and 118 million worldwide. Just bad numbers all around, and even with the low budget the movie had, the movie will not make much of a profit, and will have to rely on Blu-ray and digital sales. This adds 2 more Fs. And the last movie of the summer movie season is Angel Has Fallen. This mid-budget action movie franchise has been a decent moneymaker for Lionsgate, and I expected it to continue that trend with 55 million domestic and 185 million worldwide. Turns out the movie was strong domestically, but weak internationally, as it came in with 64 million domestic and 118 million worldwide. Now, this did come out at the end of August, so again, a lot like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. If I stretch this out, I could have a better grade, but nah, it should have been stronger up front. So I get an A domestically and an F worldwide. Now that I've gone through all the movies, let's total up the grades. Domestically, I got 5 A's, 2 B's, 1 C, 2 D's, and 14 F's. Worldwide, I got 2 A's, no B's, 5 C's, 0 D's, and 17 F's. So this was a rough season, worse than last year. For the F's, it was a mix of a lot of movies underperforming, and in the case of Shaft, needed to do more research. With the changing landscape, I will have to think a lot more about my predictions for next year, as I feel this trend of movies making less will continue. Now, this does not mean people do not want to go to the theater. They still do, but for the movies they care about. This summer, that meant Disney movies, John Wick, and Tarantino's latest movie. Besides that though, I always enjoy doing this, and we'll look forward to next year. If you have been following along, thank you for watching all the way to the end, and who knows, maybe we can get some people in the comments next year making their own predictions. For now though, this series goes back in hibernation, and I'll see you in 2020.